something off
Yeah.
from it. What's up, TIW Mafia? JP here, a little under the weather, but I'm here with Big Joe. We're expecting a special guest in a few minutes, hopefully. It is Wednesday night before Thanksgiving. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I just noticed, though, that when you were messing with me last week or even the week before, my name is still Big Toe. You know, at Big Toe. I forget how to fix it, of course. But, you know, it is what it is.
Let me see.
Oh, I got it.
There's Sinn. Ready?
Ready.
We have a special guest about to come live with us. Mr. Bodhi, Sinn, how are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
I'm all right. We're live. There's
just trying to get this little camera set where I can see you guys. There you go.
And how's everything? I've seen the figures that you've been putting out, man.
Mm-hmm.
Phenomenal.
Oh, thank you.
We actually we had a one of one make an appearance on the show last week.
Oh yeah, what's that?
We had a Professor Nightmare figure on the show last week.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Everybody keeps on asking me about that. They're like, "Are you using like a new catchphrase? Is there a new nickname or whatever?" And I'm telling them, no. That is like, that's a classical, like a magic trick, like a rope trick. Yeah. And so when Shocker, my partner, so for people who don't know what we're talking about here is so we did the Penn and Teller's Fool Us, and so me and Shocker, who is a buddy of mine, a magician here in Vegas, he's like a Freak Show Wrestling OG, and he's like a legit awesome magician and everything. So we were just kind of used that as sort of like an entry cue to kind of do the little shtick that we were doing. And so when he was talking to Penn and Teller about it, he was basically speaking magic. So it would just be like us saying, I don't know, babyface or heel or run in or
right.
some wrestling jargon. So he was speaking magic jargon, and they just sort of assumed that I was Professor Nightmare just because of that jargon. So we're like, okay, all right, sure. It's all good. I've been called worse, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't mind it.
And Penn and Teller give you a moniker, you kind of go with it a little bit.
Yeah. No, they're really cool dudes, and they had a lot of fun, and they were pretty funny about it. They're like, we did not know what to expect, and they kind of thought, all right, this like these Neanderthal, circus lion wrestlers are going to do what? What are they going to do? And then they were, to their surprise, to their dismay, they were like, holy crap, that was like one of the absolute funnest segments of the whole season, if not all of the season. So I'll take that as a compliment for sure.
Yeah, there was actually an interview with Penn where he said that you guys really sort of fooled them, and they kind of had a guess at what the trick was. So
yeah, so we basically
Shocker fooled them. So.
Yeah, we basically brought a nuke to a knife fight. So it was not simple, but it was a classic like mentalism trick that we did, except we just dropped a bomb on them with all the physicality while we did it. But once they kind of look past, like it's like hearing a big giant explosion, everybody goes, what was that? And then you turn around and then like the spoon is bent, like everybody just has to turn their head so the magician can just bend the spoon, Yeah. So it was like we dropped a bomb just to distract them. When they realized, oh crap, it was just a massive distraction versus, some subtle sleight of hand distraction. Then they went, okay, all right, we got this. But it did take them a second. They were on their toes for a minute, which is not too shabby. Like two of the smartest, most clever tricksters, sneaky guys on the planet. So if we had to make them think, I'll take that.
Well, for me, being the wrestling fan, I forgot that there was magic happening. I'm watching the action in the ring, and then I'm like, oh shit, yeah, there's magic. And
it's all magic, baby. It's all magic.
I was completely fooled.
It's the two are really similar.
Yeah, I mean, it all goes hand in hand. Like wrestling, magic, sideshow, all that kind of stuff. Circus. It's all cousin to one another. It all kind of stems from the same place. It's all circus, sideshow, vaudeville, all that kind of stuff. So
make the audience see and believe what you want them to see and believe.
Yes.
There you go.
I don't know where I'm going with I can't. I'm trying to find the camera. There we go.
There you go. It works.
Yes, it's all magic.
Now, how is the school going?
Sleight of boot.
What's that now?
Sleight of hand and sleight of boot.
That's right. Sleight of hand, sleight of boot. It's funny. There's a scene, and so I like to, when I'm teaching the wrestling students, or even just wrestlers that are asking for like little tips, I'll reference movies quite a bit to parallel it to wrestling matches. So I'll try to kind of think and paint in metaphors. So, you know, when you're seeing what I'm talking about, it's maybe a little easier to digest. Like I would always sort of tongue-in-cheek kind of joke that Star Wars is my favorite wrestling match of all time. You know, it's got all the layers, all the gears. It's got an underneath babyface with a monster top card heel. Babyface has to fight his way through the whole card from the bootstraps. You know, so all these different things. So we like to paint in pictures and analogies, and talking about like the hands, the close-up hands, and pugilism and the misdirect. So I will refer to pro wrestling, or at least the fighty part of it, as pugilistic close-up matching. So, you know, we are doing very dangerous things, but sprinkle in the illusion of the story that we're telling, you know, the characters, and then how to keep each other moderately safe as possible, because, you know, we are putting physical duress on our bodies. We aren't just,
right.
You know, you those smacks and smashes and slaps and thuds. Those aren't CGI. Those aren't special effects. Like, that's us clobbering each other, you know, but there is a story overlaid to our very method acting style of performance. So there's all that fun shenanigans. But I would joke and say, I would tell the students, pro wrestling is like pugilistic close-up magic. Yeah, I could sock you and knock your brains in outer space, or you could sock me and knock my brains in outer space. But yeah, there is an art to making it look vicious and not destroying each other. And I'm quite a hippie in real life. I really wouldn't hurt a fly. I'm physically capable. I know what to do. I just spiritually wouldn't want to, you know. But in the ring, we're performing, and we're performing aggressively. So I think fans, whether they just be some barista that's never ever been in a real life altercation, or some big scary biker or farmer or trucker or factory worker that has been, I want to fool everybody, not just Penn and Teller.
So something that's been on the news since last night, really, and me and Joe were just talking about before the show, and you talking about being the, you know, the peaceful hippie that, you know, Sinn Bodhi is.
Sure.
How
Sinn Bodhi is not. Nick is.
Yeah, I know.
I really, again, I would never, you know, everybody's like, oh, you're creative, oh, you're artsy fartsy, oh, you're fun to watch, oh, your toys are fun, blah, 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 blah. And all of my creativity in 1,000 years, if you had never showed me violence to a fellow man, violence to a woman, a child, an animal, in all of my creativity in 1,000 years, I would have never thought to hit another moving life form.
Now,
so, having said that, get the F off my lawn. I don't care what shape or size you are. I don't care, black, white, gay, straight, red, blue. I'm going to protect my family and ask questions later. So, you know, but having said that, if given my choice, I would never, ever hurt a fly.
I want to discourage a certain activity that occurred on Monday Night Raw.
Okay. Yeah, we can talk. I'm going to read your mind with the mentalism and think you're going to say something that rhymes with Beth. Yeah. Probably a little more of a 5 o'clock shadow. I'm going to go with Seth.
Beth Hollins, it rhymes with.
I'm in your brain.
With the fan jump in the ring and attack and basically tackling Seth Rollins. Guys, don't do that. That's extremely dangerous to do. These wrestlers will protect themselves and each other. Am I wrong?
And I'm very happy that you brought that up. I was literally, and right after this, I'm going back to, yesterday we were talking about this in a private lesson, which again, I have to do that right after we're done this. So I am teaching Tito Santana's daughter. So that came up, and I said, especially like, call me chivalrous, like she's a big, strong girl, but still call me chivalrous, that I wanted to talk about safety in the ring. And I said, like, you know, again, you can have all sorts of, again, opinions are like a-holes. Everybody's got them. Some are correct. Some are not so correct. Some are way out to lunch. Some are poignant and what have you, but still.
Some people have too.
Yeah. So, you know, I think it would suck and it would be diabolical for some fan or just some human to hurt a wrestler or anybody,
right,
guy or girl, but just, again, call me old school, call me a bit chivalrous. I would extra want to make sure the girl wrestlers are safe. So we talked about like shoot safety in the ring, like in case a fan jumped the guardrails. So if you're ever watching, you know, Raw, SmackDown, whatever, and all, or AEW, whatever, and they do this awkward cut just to the audience, and for no reason, it's just audience, more audience. Usually some fan is doing something they shouldn't be doing. Security is handling it, or somebody is handling it.
Right.
And they're cutting to the audience because they don't want to give anybody else any bright ideas. So having said that, when one of those people are having a less than bright idea and think they need to get involved in the show, the old school in it. So like, there's corporate ways of handling things. There's old school ways of handling things. I believe in safety first. And I believe in, as much as I don't want to hurt a fly, better you than me. If I don't know you, the unwritten rule is if you're getting in that ring and I don't know you, I am going to destroy you, let alone stop you. So Seth was very patient and very professional.
Yes.
And they were not in the ring. So in the ring and around the ring, two very, very different things for safety and for litigious reasons. So like say I'm walking to the ring and you grab me by my beard and I just turn around and slug you and knock you into oblivion. Well, I'm not going to turn around and say, excuse me, sir, what are your intentions for grabbing my beard hostilely? It hurts. I don't know who you are. I don't know how big you are. I don't know how you have a weapon. I'm going to fire that knuckle sandwich upside your skull. I promise you, I will send you into outer space, and then I will ask questions later.
Yeah.
But if I can, what Seth did, and I have all the respect in the world for Seth, and I'm glad he is safe. I could care less about the other dude because he was asking for it, where Seth was not. So I wouldn't wish ill on anybody, but if you're asking for it, you get what you get. Right. Asking you shall receive. Well, so if I saw a fan coming at me and I could grab him and hold him at bay until the security were there where I could hand them off, great. But if I have to make snap decisions until security is there, you're getting what you get. Again, I'm not going to psychoanalyze, be like, hey, well, what are your intentions, sir? I'm going to physically keep myself safe. Deal with, again, I'm a professional and I'm not Chuck Norris by any means, but I can go, and most wrestlers can go.
Yes.
Much more than the average bear. Now, again, not painting with an all-encompassing brush. A lot of people out there that are, super duper strong, whatever, big or bigger than a wrestler or whatever. So the wrestler, being the target, doesn't need to wait and find out. They need to handle their business safely. Professionally, they still need to handle their business. That is around ringside. I'm not sure what exactly the semantics of the laws are for modern day, but I was always taught that wrestling, boxing, any sport, whether there was ropes and turnbuckles or an MMA cage or something, when you cross those ropes per se, now you're asking for it. Now you've that's what I'm looking for. Now you have agreed. You're a willing participant. And once you cross those ropes, if a wrestler doesn't know you, you are going to get it. And you're not just going to get put in a hold. You're going to get it until you are out of that ring.
Right. And I think Seth was smart.
My bedroom.
And to not incriminate myself on the internet, but I was explaining to Tito's daughter, I said, again, especially being a girl. Now, she's a big, strong girl, but still, that's not going to compare to some 6-foot dude or whatever, bigger. So fans really don't know how to navigate and negotiate the ropes, let alone the ring. We do. Yeah. And those ropes are a lot more complicated to move through than people would realize. So I spent pretty much that private lesson, or a good portion of it, showing her ways to defend herself and keep herself safe until security was there to help out. And it was because of the Seth thing. I wanted to make sure that she was aware of that. And there's so many diabolical ways. No, that's maybe wrong. Let's strike that. There's so many aggressively safe ways to keep your attacker at bay. Yeah. And then some. Again, if some burglar broke in my house, I wouldn't be like, well, what is your intention, sir? Did you just want my TV? Do you really need my TV more than I need my TV? I'm not asking those questions. You're getting your head pulled off, and then I'll hand you off to the police. First call would be 911 and be like, look, place, I defended myself. You can take the leftovers. So I kind of explained it like that in the pro wrestling. Because again, girl or guy, but especially the girl. Like look at Charlotte Flair or Rhea Ripley or just any of them, all of them. Bianca, all of them, just amazing athletes. But still, if some big dude jumped into the ring, just the sheer size difference is not to their advantage. Like you could take Bruce Lee and put him in close quarters with a rodeo bull. You're too close. It doesn't matter what techniques Bruce Lee has. He's going to get trampled by that rodeo. So to teach wrestlers, guy and girl, both in ring and exterior ring safety, I think is very, very important.
Awesome. Yeah, and I think what Seth did, like you said, when he got tackled, once security was there, the referees were there. Once he could get up, he got up and walked away.
Yeah,
Because
he didn't take any
we're in
cheap
such a
shots.
litigious country.
Yeah, I mean, and it was very human of him to say, "Hey, come on, you want to," or whatever he said. I don't recall exactly, but he yelled at the guy.
Yeah.
But I mean, sticks and stones. So I don't think I don't know that he called him any names. I don't recall exactly. I just heard. I just heard like kind of a jumble, a gurble of like. Blah, 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 blah. So whatever he said, I was like, what are you thinking? You're an asshole. I don't know what he said, but he didn't take any cheap shots. He didn't go after the fact. He didn't cheapen the situation. He didn't make the situation any more litigious than it needed to be, which, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, he's sealed tight,
Right. But, you never, like, if that guy got knocked cold or whatever, you don't know what people are thinking as far as, like, taking people to court. Like, he has WWE wrestlers have to think about that as well, because they have a little more money than I do.
Sure.
So.
Well, we get one of our listeners in the chat room, Laurie Prescott, saying that what he said was, "You drew fucking blood."
What now?
He said that Seth said, "You drew fucking blood," is what he said per one of our listeners in the chat room. That
I'm sorry, I'm not following. What did he say?
The guy that attacked Seth, what Seth said back to him was, "You drew fucking blood."
Seth said that to him. You drew blood.
Yeah.
So again, if he had hardwayed Seth open. So when we say hardway, we mean when blood happens accidentally as opposed to. So if Seth had said that to him, he may have just been pointing out that, look, you did damage to me and I'm still not taking advantage of you, which to me even speaks more to Seth as being a classy professional. Again, I am a pretty woosah guy. I mean, my name that I take is Bodhi. It is short for Bodhisattva, which is a Buddhist thing that means without greed, fear, or delusion, without hatred. So I'm a pretty woosah kind of a guy. And Sinn, I picked Sinn because, again, for hippie reasons, because out of, again, white, black, gay, straight, red, blue, whatever ethnicity, whatever line of, whatever sexual orientation, whatever country, wherever you are from, however, whatever your walk of life is, the one thing that binds us together is Sinn. That's our common ground. So you're talking to a pretty sort of Zen kind of a dude. Having said that, I would do whatever I needed to do to keep myself safe, or especially to keep my family or somebody loved safe. Like, for instance, I grew up with Edge and Christian. Edge is as close to me as my flesh and blood brother. Got a couple of guys like that. I'm lucky to have, a handful of people that I take a bullet for, So if it meant getting in front of somebody, whether it was for, I've got a good friend of mine. He was his name Jason Bates. He's a business owner in South Dakota. One of my best pals. He's right up there with Edge. He was a wrestler back in the day at OVW, and he was one of those woulda, shoulda, coulda guys. Tough as nails, but a sweetheart. A family man, a business owner, and I would take a bullet for him. I'd take a bullet for Jake the Snake. I would take a bullet for my legit little brother. I would take a bullet for my wife and my kid. Not a whole lot more people I can think of that, beside my parents or something. A lot of times people that I like, but I don't know how many I would jump in front of the bus for. But everybody I just named, I certainly would. They've always had my best intentions. They've always helped me out. I've always tried to help them out. And I'm lucky to say, like, man, that's counting up. That's more than a handful. So I think in life, that's winning the lottery and friendship and love and everything, brotherhood. So I am fully abreast at what I would do for somebody other than myself. I think not to get so zen and so philosophical, but I kind of think, like, unless you have something or someone you die for, you've never truly lived. That's not any quote from anywhere. That's just me kind of riffing, but that's how I feel. I think so many people are like, well, this, well, that. I think that's usually coming out of the mouths of people who have not experienced love or friendship or have something to lose of some sort. So
I got to go down
Seth has a brand new baby. Seth has a career. Seth has fans and kids that he doesn't want to disappoint. He's got money that he doesn't want to get sued out from under his ass.
Right.
He has to feed his family and his baby and his wife. and retire someday. So he's not going to let some idiot rob him of that in a moment of anger.
Right. Now, I got to see, you were just talking about people you're friends with, and I got to see a couple weeks ago someone that you're friends with, and what an experience. I was down in Daytona and got to see Gua.
Yes. My kid, Techno Destructo, Hunter Jackson, one of the OGs, one of the creators, him and Brocky were the creators of Gua. And it was silly because just this week they were in Vegas. I was actually in South Dakota with my buddy that I was talking about, Mr. Bates. And but here in town, my 13-year-old stepdaughter got to go see Gua, and so Techno made sure that they had tickets and all that stuff. So, and she had a blast, and it was fun to see her smiling and see her all covered in that Gua goo and all that stuff. So she had a really great time, and I was super happy that she got to enjoy herself. I think so many kids finding stuff that actually lets them enjoy themselves, like especially coming out of this pandemic. The kids have had it so rough. Like adults have had it rough. I think kids have had it 10 times more rough. So it's cool to see a smile on her face, even it's covered in Gua blood.
I've been to thousands of metal concerts over the years, and I don't think I've ever seen anything like that before in my life. It was cool.
Geez, try wrestling them.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
No.
It's often messy, always fun.
You know what's funny is that was.
Go ahead, JB.
What's that?
They weren't the first person to pee on someone on that stage that night.
Oh, I don't know about that. Again, I wasn't there, but I've had a lot of weird gunk dumped on me, thrown on me, smeared on me at the hands of Techno Destructo over the years from Freaks of Wrestling and so forth.
Well,
so
if
it's a messy affair.
For you.
Any member of Gua, I would definitely guarantee that.
If they know you, they're going to aim for you, right?
Yeah, and the funny thing is like, like just Charlotte, I think, had just kind of explained this. I think it was Charlotte that it was just saying, when you're wrestling your buddies, you hit harder. You take it easy on the people you don't really like or the people you don't really know. But when you've got a long time caring bond, you usually sink your teeth in just a little bit more. So yeah. So again, every time me and Hunter, I love Techno Destructo. So when we would get in there, it would be a war for sure.
Now, how does that relationship, how does Sinn Bodhi meet Techno Destructo?
Good question. So when I was first introducing Freak Show Wrestling to Las Vegas, this has got to be a better part of a decade ago. I would have like wrestlers. I would have a magician, sideshow, music. And I had a buddy of mine, his name is Aaron, and he is the lead singer of the Radioactive Chickenheads. And a wonderful, really fun, playful band. So kind of like, I would joke and call them vegan Gua, because they would wear all the big crazy masks like Gua, but they were all chickens and vegetables and stuff like that. And he was one of the many, many, many members of Green Jello from back in the day. Yes. Little Pig, all that stuff. And so they had all the it was sort of like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Like I knew Aaron knew Hunter. Aaron said, "Hey, Hunter would probably really like this. I'm going to bring him." I said, "Yes, I would love for you to bring one of the Gua guys and have him on Freak Show." So the first thing he did, I want to say he was roller skating around the ring, hitting people with his giant space wrench and all sorts of fun stuff. And he came and just fell in love with the show, and we got along thick as thieves. And he's been on just about every Freak Show Wrestling episode ever since.
Wow. That's really incredible. So Jerry Springer and Freak Show Wrestling. Those are the two shows that I know Gua have been on, and of course down in Daytona.
Right. I'm surprised out of all the farce cameo impersonator characters that we've ever had on Freak Show Wrestling. I'm surprisingly impressed that we've never had a Jerry Springer kind of character. And all sorts of other characters, all sorts of unruly, bizarre characters, but never had a Jerry Springer, and I'm kind of surprised that just didn't ever happen.
Now, is Freak Show Wrestling, are you guys still running now? Did COVID kind of?
We are not currently running. The last show we did, we opened for Rob Zombie in Las Vegas at a big giant rock concert called Las Rages, and that was right before the pandemic. But to be honest, just the pandemic really, I think, put a lot of small shows on their asses. Yeah. Mom and pop businesses, small shows, performers. And Freak Show was always kind of a labor of love, where it was super fun, but it was also expensive to do. It just took so much out of my soul and energy to do, where I physically, could wrestle every night of the week, every month for another promoter. But to promote and to write the shows, and my wife and I would get the costumes ready and the props ready and all these things. And it's not like this wrestler's showing up and that wrestler, this bad guy and this good guy, and I tell you, hey, 10 minutes, have the good guy win, get out there. Freak Show wrestling wasn't like that. It was like, okay, tonight you're the monkey, you're the banana, you're the vampire, you're the robot. I'm going to need a lot of this. I need garlic, and I need outer space, and I need this, and you're going to trip on the banana, and you're going to fling poop at the audience because you're the monkey. Do all these things, and you're going to grab the Fay Ray girl and climb up to the top rope, and have the banana's going to throw paper airplanes at you, and then you're going to take a bump off of the top rope like the Empire State Building. So it was a lot of directorial stuff, a lot of makeup and wardrobe and food supply, all that stuff. And it was so laborious, super rewarding, but super laborious, super expensive. So I think I would be down to do Freak Show again. When I am booked on a show, you're kind of getting a two-legged version of Freak Show wrestling, whether it's a prop heavy match, it's me being funnier, me being scarier, me being a good guy, me being a bad guy, depending on where the show is, what they require me as a performer. But that way, I really only have me to babysit. I can just make sure the promoter, gets my flight, my hotel, and gives me a payday, and then asks me, "This, you're gonna be a good guy. I need you to be a bad guy. I need you to do this, I need you to do that." I say, okay, yes, Mr. Promoter, sir. Do my business, and then I'm back home. Where it's just so much easier to babysit myself as opposed to managing a 30, 40, 50 roster situation.
How much of your bookings are just bookings, just a wrestling show, as opposed to how many are a booking with seminars and that type of thing? Because I mean, you're very well known as a trainer. Like, I believe you've been down to NXT, right?
Yeah. I've been a guest coach a bunch of times at the PC. Super fun experience. What's going on there right now, I don't know. Hopefully I get to go back soon. All of my experiences there were amazing. But yeah, to answer your question, I do seminars all over the place. I wrestle all over the place. If they want seminars, I'll offer it up. If they want it, great. No problem. I'm pretty easy to deal with. Like, I am there. Any road wrestler should really be at any indie show to help that show. That's what we're getting paid for. We're not getting paid to get ourselves over. You're bringing us in because we're already over, or we already have heat. We're good guys or bad guys, and you're bringing us in to rub, push, whoever you want in the ring with us, a local guy or girl or whoever it is. If you want to get this new good guy over, give him to me and I'll be the bad guy. If you want to get this bad guy some heat, give him to me and I'll be the good guy. And it's my job to go to said shows and kind of be the heck was that? It's kind of my job to sort of be the the Bull Durham to some indie wrestlers meet, if that makes any sense. So as a player coach, and it's not always the case. That's not always the situation. So sometimes it's even keel. Sometimes I'm wrestling like, I don't know, a month or so ago, I was wrestling Hernandez. Next week, in a couple of weeks, I'll be wrestling Eugene. So that'll be just like two of the boys just having fun, going at each other the way we would, we can kind of walk and talk and whatever and have some fun. And I'll have fun always, like, don't get me wrong, against a younger wrestler, but that is more where, okay, I'll sort of direct a little bit more and kind of keep things flowing. It's as silly as it sounds to like not kind of, break any fourth wall or whatever. Like, people think, well, it's predetermined, it's this, not that, but nobody knows where that starts and stops. Like, people can use the F word, they can say fake. It is not fake. It's fixed, it's not fake. What we do to our bodies is legit. Just like I think Chris Jericho was just talking about that. He's like, still to this day hate the F word. I do too. Like, again, I wouldn't hurt a fly, but if you want to challenge me on it being fake, sign a waiver and I'll see you in the ring and we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, I've seen Ivar break his back twice and his neck once. So
yeah. Like,
if you ask Ivar from WWE, it's very real. Yeah,
for sure. And the thing about, when somebody wants to challenge a wrestler, they have to realize it's our job to we're not just being characters, and we're not just, know how to take bumps and whatever. It is our job to absorb and endure. Like, if you think the average bear knows how to absorb a steel chair shot or how to land on concrete or even land on that canvas that is really all wood and steel with canvas over top, like there's a thin mat. There's nothing comfortable or forgiving about a pro wrestling ring.
And the match usually
again, if I
frozen.
was out and about and some fan wanted to do something to me, if they didn't get it done on the first swing, they are, and I don't know if I can cuss on this thing.
Yeah,
You can.
right.
So if that fan doesn't get it done in the first shot, I promise you they are proper fucked. Because if I can shake off that first shot, I promise you, there's nothing I can endure that a fan couldn't, or vice versa. I said that right backwards. I said put my dyslexic whatever. A fan could not endure what I could endure. Not because I'm special or I'm a superhero or anything like that. I'm just built a career on making my body durable to, like, you just get used to what you get used to. If you're used to eating hot peppers every day, it's no big deal. You just ate a hot pepper at a time, your head's going to look like Yosemite Sam and smoke's going to come out your ears. But as you acclimate to stuff, we're just like people, from the tropics, and they go to the snow and they're like, holy crap, or they used to live in the snow, move to Florida, move back to the snow, their blood is thin. They're like, oh my goodness, I don't remember it being like this. So your body has to acclimate to its conditions. People are used to doing and living in whatever situation. So pro wrestlers are used to, on the regular, being hurt, trucking through it, and absorbing massive amounts of impact. So when you see these wrestlers diving on each other, jumping off the top rope, like just the old dropping a Macho Man elbow off the top rope, from body weight to canvas, height, weight times velocity, that is a 45-mile-per-hour car wreck. So imagine doing that several times a match, times several times a week, times several times a month, times several times, however many times a year. How many car wrecks is that? And if you have only ever been in one car wreck or two car wrecks or zero car wrecks, and you hit me first and I can recover from it, you're probably fucked.
Now, Bobby D just asked, and I'm going to word it a little different than he did, because I don't think anybody likes what's going on, but he asked how you like, what you think about what's going on with the WWE releasing people and letting people go. I don't think anybody likes that. So what I'm going to ask you and how I'm going to word it is, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't think anybody likes it. Now, businesses have to make business decisions, and sometimes those decisions bode well for the employees and or the customers. Sometimes they don't. I'm not defending WWE, but I'm not healing on them either. I don't know why they did that. I don't like it, but I don't know the reasons, whether I personally deem those reasons valid or invalid. It's above my pay grade, and it's not my business. So the people that I know are good people and talented people, and that are let go, sucks. I feel bad for them. And I've been there. It happened to me. Happened to a lot of those people on those lists are friends of mine. So of course I'm always, every time I see somebody that I know released, if I'm buddies with them, I always reach out, make sure they're okay, check on them, because it's the shits. It's,
well, you lose a job. Yeah. It's very much.
I'm not blowing kisses to you guys. My wife just walked by the camera and she was leaving, so I was just so.
I was
or
take I accept that. That's fine. I caught that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Enough when I go to bed tonight.
That's right. But yeah. So and to what end this all is happening. So again, I think a lot of the fans, just a lot of humans, not even wrestling, just in life, a lot of people usually think in checkers. Well, this is in front of me, what next? This is in front of me, what next? I think to be not a sports entertainer, not a wrestler, not a high spot guy, not a comedy wrestler, not a nothing, but to be a worker. It is your job to not think in chess, but to think in checkers, but to think in chess. To think, well, what's going to happen down the road? Where are we? What's the long game on this? What's happening here? So as awful as this handful of releases, or just a moment before the releases before that, and so forth, like, why are they doing what they're doing? I don't know. There's all sorts of weird rumors out there.
Now they have, WWE has several runs of revenue, and they kind of took one away when they brought on the network. They took away the pay-per-view revenue, because now everyone pays $9.99 a month.
Right.
And now during COVID, I don't know how many months they lost the house, which was another big form of revenue. So
Sure.
they were
Yeah,
basically
I want to say they
just
pretty much
advertising.
survived on advertiser money. Is pretty much. I mean, I can't say that for sure. I'm just guesstimating that. So,
So I
of
mean,
course,
they
like, I'm being
lost.
simplistic. I'm boiling it down. Sure, there's all sorts of other little merchandise money and this and that and whatever.
Right.
But just for the most part, I want to say sponsorship money probably pulled them through the
A lot
pandemic.
that goes in to make the soup.
But they lost a couple of good forms of revenue. So I mean, they do have to make up for that at some point on the profit and loss statements because they're a public company.
Sure. And with that comes, a lot of strengths and a lot of weaknesses. Like a lot of creativity gets sort of shoved aside, good, bad, or indifferent, and not even maybe not good, bad, or indifferent, just different. So, for instance, and when you get used to something, that's it. So like you watch Hell in a Cell now, just for an example, and you go, okay, that was cool, I liked it, whatever. But there's never any blood in Hell in a Cell. Back in the day, you pretty much couldn't have a cage match without blood. Use. It was par for the course. Guys are ramming up against the sharp, unforgiving edges of the steel and blah, 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 blah.
Dragging their face across.
Yeah. What's that? Yeah.
Dragging their face across
corporate, to keep sponsors and advertisers happy because that's a big bit of bread and butter. So they don't want blood, so they don't do it. So maybe some people go, I remember when there was blood and it made a lot more sense and it looked a lot more real, blah, 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 blah. And then there's the younger generation that didn't even know about that. So they're not asking about it. So there's all sorts of things that we live with like that, and choices and whatever. Like back in the day, there was no seatbelts, and all of a sudden there were seatbelts, and then all of a sudden you could use them if you wanted, and all of a sudden it was illegal to not use the seatbelts. And I think people are to an age now where they just know, seatbelts it's a normal thing. It's part of what we do, just because it's been around long enough where people just go, yeah, it's a way of life.
To me, the blood thing is
until there was juice in a cage match until there wasn't. Life just keeps on,
right.
keeping on.
To me, that's like sort of like the cursing. Like it's faux pas to curse in a promo because it's like quote unquote cheap heat.
Right.
But there's creative ways around that so people don't realize that people don't think that you're not cursing. They just, oh man, did you hear that promo? That was great. He's gonna kill him.
And if you so on that note, so I always, for like 99% of my career, I never swore because that's what I was taught. Like it's a PG show, blah blah blah. It's okay, but I don't set out to curse. But if there is a moment where I feel it's impactful and the show is like it'll fly on the show. Like if I'm on Raw or SmackDown or AEW or something, I'm not going to cuss unless the producer says, "Hey, we need you to cuss." Otherwise, I'm not going to let something slip. But I think a little ketchup on the burger here and there is good. It just makes the burger that much tastier. Like as Amazing Jonathan, buddy of mine, a very wonderful magician comedian, would say, like, I don't need to swear. It's just fun and it makes things seem a little more impactful. So if you blindsided me and set my car on fire and ate my dog and done all sorts of terrible things to me, I'm probably going to swear. It just would lend to the legitimacy of it. But if I go, yeah, how dare you, so-and-so, I'm going to kick your butt. Not only did I not swear, but I made myself sound like a doofus. Like who's going to say, I'm going to kick your patootie? Like, I don't know that the patootie is such an impactful, powerful, passionate, organic word, where if I was like, I'm going to kick your motherfucking ass. People go, okay, I buy that. He's upset. So when and where? When in Rome.
Well, it's one of those things too, like there's creative ways to say that. Like I think The Rock was great at it.
Sure.
Saying things that he's going to do to you in a way that's going to make the audience laugh, but you understand what he's saying.
Sure.
Finding
those sort of double entendres, for lack of a better term, and those subtleties. Again, you could say F so-and-so, or you could say let's go so-and-so. Like you're saying the same thing without the actual curse word. So like I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying any beliefs. I'm just using that as an example. So anybody on here that doesn't like that, sorry,
but saying like I'm going to take that chair, saying I'm going to take that chair and shove it up your ass, is one way, but the way Rock did it with that candy ass,
I'm gonna turn this on sideways, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
he doesn't need to finish it. Everybody just knows, oh, that's where he's going. Sure.
Yeah.
And that's conditioning the audience to his speak. So if he just says, hey, what's your name? It doesn't matter. Where he's going because he was so popular and so over that people just had his stuff memorized. So you say it once, he doesn't have to say it again. It's like when a rock concert and then the singer holds the microphone out to the audience and the audience sings half the songs for the guy or girl.
Yep.
Because if those songs are over enough, the audience is kind of doing a sing along. That's whether it was the Rock or Stone Cold or whoever. And look at back in the day. Look at Enzo and Big Cass. They'd have the audience would recite like a paragraph of stuff. They just had the audience to that tune where they could I can recite that stuff to save my life. I can't recite lyrics to save my life, but the audience seemed to figure that out just fine. And that was pretty elaborate, just in the elaboracy is what I'm trying to say about those guys. But,
it's the creative mindset behind that kind of linguistics in a way that you have to have that grasp on it in order to insult you, but make you think it's a compliment.
Sure. And too, like a good performer, wrestler or otherwise, musician, actor, wrestler, whatever, athlete, whatever you are. I mean, wrestlers are athletes, but you know what I mean? Is to put the audience in the palm of your hand. Like I would always kind of tell the wrestling students, I would point at the chairs around the ring. I would point at the bleachers around the ring and I'd say, where do the fans sit? So, in the chairs and in the bleachers. I'd say, nope, they sit. Where's the camera? Right there. Right there.
Yeah.
Any good, that's where they sit, right in the palm of your hand.
Thank you.
That's
Absolutely.
the jam. Our job isn't to do 5 suplexes per match or 10 Canadian destroyers per match or 1 dive per match. Our job is to put smiles on faces. How we get that done? A billion different ways.
I saw a couple of
we can do the
matches over
worm.
weekend.
We can do the people's elbow. We can do a dive. We can do a super kick party. We can do the cobra. We can do a mandible claw. We can do the people's elbow. We can do the leg drop, choke slam, the last ride, the this, that, the other, whatever it is, or a pie in the face, or a what, whatever it's going to be.
Bunnies on your boots.
Bunnies on my boots. Whatever it's going to take to put smiles on faces. Period.
I was at a show over the weekend where the hard cam, there was nothing for the hard cam in the first 3 matches. That was the one piece of criticism at a great show.
How do you mean nothing for the hard cam? How do you mean?
Nobody was at the end of it. There was no celebration. There was nothing being fed into the hard cam for the people watching online.
Oh, I got you. So, okay. So, and that's a whole other thing right there too, is like working for the live audience versus working for the camera. So if you're decent at it, you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. You can kind of cheat doing a little bit of both. But the TV guys are predominantly working for the camera. You don't see a whole lot of fan interaction. I'm a very fan interactive kind of wrestler. I was always of that Dusty Rhodes mentality of bring the fans into the story.
Yes.
Ricky Morton really just reaching, like he's on his belly in dire straits, and he wouldn't be reaching for Robert to tag. He's reaching for all the kids and the people in the front row to help me, tag me, and all the kids, everybody's losing their mind to help Ricky, or just whatever crowd interactive stuff, whatever it is, or like, what, or yes, whatever it is, that's all crowd interactive stuff. That's the best stuff. I don't really get why some promoters, bigger promoters or whatever would say, don't work the crowd. I mean, I would just go, yes, sir. And then I go there and do what I think I need to do. I'm going to do everything they ask for, but I'm going to sneaky work the crowd. I'm not going to not work the crowd.
I think a promoter that says just flat out, don't work the crowd is a promoter you could probably work into not realizing you work the crowd, if you know what I mean.
That's what I'm saying.
But I do think both have to sort of be done to a point now, because so many indie shows, the live audience might be 150, 200 people, but you're going to have maybe another 100 or 150 people at home now watching online. You're not getting thousands you're not getting millions like the WWE, but you might double your crowd with what's online.
Sure. And again, I want people walking out of there talking about what they saw.
Yeah, and buying.
And there's a million reasons why they would and a million reasons why they wouldn't. So if you are not engaging the crowd, you don't have to pander to the crowd, but if you are not reading the crowd, taking the temperature of the room and going, oh, well, this A, B, C, D, E, F, what we have planned isn't gelling, we have to switch gears. So like, again, when I said there's sports entertainers, there's wrestlers, there's high spot guy, as Matt Hardy would say, high spot monkeys, there's all sorts of different styles of whatever wrestling. To be a worker in its purest sense. People say worker all the time, but it's really few and far between that can actually work. To work means you should be able to, you can memorize whatever you want, but you should be able to go off the fly if need be, preferably. The more I have to talk backstage, I can memorize as much as you want, but the more I have to talk, the more it becomes work and less fun. Like, okay. So if I'm talking to some wrestler and they want to talk about every dumb little thing under the sun, I just start daydreaming, thinking about SpongeBob and this and that and the other. And I'm just, all right, see you in the ring.
Yeah, and then nothing that they just
person's safe, it just takes all the fun out of it and takes all the spontaneity out of it. And if you memorize to a T, like you can have your bullet points and your key things to tell said story. But if you go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, blah, 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 that's a house of cards, and a warm breeze will blow that over. All somebody has to do is forget one little thing or something. Somebody's out of the wrong place, and they're botched.
That turns your next match that those people are there to see into the bathroom break.
Right. And so, again, like I tell the wrestling students all the time, and the young wrestlers, like, there's no fans ever that are sitting around in some coffee shop or some restaurant going, man, I'm jonesing to see a Falcon Arrow or a Brainbuster or a Super Kick or a Sleeper or whatever. They go, I want to go see Rey Mysterio. I want to go see Kenny Omega. I want to go see Eric Young. I want to see Boogeyman. I want to see this. I want to see that. They never say, man, I can't wait to see an eye gouge. They don't ever do that.
Yeah.
They want to see the performer, the personality. They don't want to see the technique. Again, the moves are just ketchup on the burger. They're there for the burger. You're not going, man, this restaurant's got, let me tell you, the ketchup is spectacular. Nobody ever freaking says that. They go to this burger joint because they really like these burgers. That's what I think about it. And again, I wear bunnies and duckies on my feet and clown paint for a living, so what the F do I know? But that's how
I've seen a ton of Sinn Bodhi matches over the years. How would you describe your character, though?
Water. I'm versatile. I am not old school, and neither am I new school. I am water. Water is Jeet Kune Do. Water can break rock. Water can whittle through the cracks. Water is uber versatile. It is what it is, and it needs to be what it needs to be.
That's perfect, because you're not Sinn's not you're not necessarily a good guy. You're not necessarily the villain.
I am mean.
But you're definitely not a tweener.
I am mean. That's the thing, is what guys and girls have to realize that want to be in this business is that you don't just turn from JBL to Marty Jannetty if you're a good guy or a bad guy. You are you. And long gone are the days of like the Super Friends where the good guys sat at a table and were just goody goodies, and the bad guys sat at the table and thought of what evil things to do. Life is much more complex than that. So you're not part of an evil faction because you're a heel and you're just set to do 10 bad things per week, and that gives you the carte blanche to be in the bad guy club, or 10 good things and you're part of this good guy club.
You don't have a punch card.
You are situationally you in a good mood or a bad mood, or you're making the right decisions or the wrong decisions. So I would joke with the wrestlers and say, look, if I am me, I would say, I don't know, hey, Joe, we're in a relationship and you tell me that you accuse me of cheating on you, and I didn't cheat on you. I would say, Joe, what are you talking about, man? Why would you think that, dude? I love you, man. Look, you're always there for me. You're wonderful. You're sexy. You're smart. You're funny. You're this, you're that. Why would you think that? But if you accuse me of cheating on you, and I did, I would be like, whoa, Joe, why would you think that? I would never give you that impersonation. What'd you hear? Like, it's still me. I am just attacking the situation like a good guy or like a bad guy. I am going forward positively, or I am backpedaling like a villain. It is situational. It is not, I'm a bad guy because I'm part of the bad guy club. No, you are, if you're often found in that situationally bad side of town or a good side of town, then that's where you kind of dwell. Like Jeff Hardy has been his career babyface, kind of like a Ricky Steamboat or a Ricky Morton or a Tito Santana, because he never had to kind of back up and do that. He was never booked in that situation. Neither was Steamboat or Morton or Tito or what have you. And then there's guys like JBL, who I want to say I don't think he's maybe a hot minute, but for the most part, JBL is backing up. And then when he has the opportunity, he is vicious and relentless. Right. So that whole no redeeming qualities to make him the bad guy. If you have likable qualities, like Jeff Hardy, very likable. Tito, very likable. Ricky and other Ricky, very likable. JBL, not so likable. So that's where you kind of fall. Again, Sinn Bodhi is Sinn Bodhi. So if I need to make Sinn Bodhi decisions on taking the low road to get higher ground, that makes me the bad guy. If I'm going to stay the course and fight the good fight, that makes Sinn Bodhi a good guy. Situational. Doesn't mean I'm a heel. I'm a babyface. No, it's too much. It's too much. It's more complicated.
A little bit of that played out on Penn and Teller too. When the act was over and you were still in character delivering the belt.
They were so uncomfortable at that point, by the way.
Yeah, but like the act was over, but you were still, the head tilted, kind of.
Sure.
Like, I'm going to eat your throat right now, and they were like, "Holy shit!" But that's part of it. Like
so right over, but switching gears, combo plattered with credibility. I took this word. This is Jake the Snake's favorite word. My mentor, my idol, my best pal, my teacher, my opponent. His word. If you asked him to sum up the most important thing about pro wrestling, he'll tell you credibility. If you don't think that I couldn't eat your face off, what am I there for? Then what is that Sinn Bodhi character any good for at all? So whether you love me or whether you hate me, however the situation is, I need you to know, I need to confidently instill into your brain, okay, he's fun or he's scary or he's a dickhead or he's nice. But if I got too close to him and did something he didn't like, he could bite my face off. I have no problem with cruiserweight wrestling or high flying wrestling. I like all styles of wrestling, but I do think when wrestlers walk that aisle, fans need to go, I'm impressed. I wouldn't want to fuck with that person. Rey Mysterio is a lot shorter than I am, but he's pound for pound. He looks great. His character is everything it needs to be. He's fiery. He's energetic. He's compassionate. He generates empathy. Like it just oozes out of his pores. You buy everything he is selling. So proving that I got no problems with smaller wrestlers, but I don't think fans will look at him and go, yeah, I could beat him up. They're going to go, man, he's quick as the hiccup. Man, he could 619 me in outer space if I just blinked, so people go, oh, or he could, I'd be puking on myself as he's running circles around me, even though if I'm a foot taller than him or whatever. So same thing, Undertaker, you look at him and you go, I don't like creepy wrestlers. That dude is intoxicating. Like, man, I can't take my eyes off that guy. He's a human comic book. Like he is Shredder. He is Darth Vader. He is Thanos. Like Undertaker is so daunting.
He transcends the kayfabe.
What's that?
He transcends the kayfabe. Like he takes that. That's not just a character. That's kind of become him.
Sure.
People know that. Like they don't see him outside. They call him.
Yeah, a lot of people will say kayfabe's dead. No, it's not. It's just changed, altered.
Right.
Again, like people could go, oh yeah, Sinn Bodhi's part of a show, or Undertaker's part of a show, or Gangrel's part of a show, or Boogeyman's part of a show, or whoever. It doesn't need to be a creepy guy. It could be whomever. Just whoever. I don't know. I'm just trying to think. Braun Breaker. He's not a creepy guy, but anybody in the audience worth a damn would have to realize, man, if I took my eyes off that guy for 1 second, he would suplex me into oblivion. You don't need worms or spikes on your shoulder pads or clown paint or whatever to be creepy or be scary. But I promise you, everybody I just listed, as eccentric as those characters are, they could get it done.
Yeah.
So for fans to go, yeah, I wouldn't want to mess with the Boogeyman. I would dare you, and I'm not daring you. Please, let's leave the Seth Rollins incident as a one and done. Yeah. And I don't wish that on any wrestler. But I mean, like Gangrel, or even my buddy Bates that I was talking about earlier. If I had to pick somebody to have my back wrestling an alley, like a dark alley or a brightly lit alley full of ninjas, it would be either my friend Jason Bates, who wrestled as the Street Fighter, or Gangrel. And they are two of the absolute sweetest people I have ever known on this planet. Triple tough. Like Gangrel versus 10 normal humans. Good luck, 10 humans. Good luck.
Is that right?
Yeah, buddy.
Now, what do people, I feel like we just got an hour of a lesson from Sinn Bodhi. Can you break down the school to us?
Sure. So I teach at Future Stars of Wrestling, FSW, in Las Vegas. We affectionately kind of refer to the ring as the Snake Pit because originally Jake the Snake, myself, and D'Lo Brown, we opened up the Snake Pit School here. And then soon after that, we got in bed with the premier show, which is in Vegas, which is Future Stars of Wrestling. So they had Kenny King and Disco Inferno teaching at their school, and we had me and Jake and D'Lo at our school. So we got into bed together, and then we brought in Kikitaro as well. And once in a while, TJP shows up, Davari shows up, different guys. So it's pretty one-stop shopping for wrestling school. And then during the pandemic, I turned the original Snake Pit Wrestling student page into a it was a private page just for, hey, flyering, we're going to flyer the shows, or we're going to do ring crew or classes or such and such time. So there's about 30 people on there. So now I want to say there's about 3,500 people. And we opened it up to industry. So students, wrestlers, writers, producers, referees, ballets, cameramen, whatever can be on that page. And it's no knock on the fans. It's just to keep the fans entertained and on their toes. It's really just to school and enlighten, up and coming wrestlers or whatever. And there's plenty of advanced people. There's WWE people, AEW people, AAA guys and girls, all sorts of people from all over the world are on that page. And that is affectionately the Snake Pit. So like guys like myself, it's my page, so I'll be on there for the most part. Then I've got wonderful guest coaches like Tyson Dukes, Rock Riddle, Gangrel, Al Snow, Dr. Tom, Angelina Love. Just so many people have been on there. Big Zeke Jackson, talking about working as a big man or different, Cody Deaner, different guys that pop on there, and girls like Angelina Love was really great on there. Dr. Tom and Al Snow. Me and Doc would do quite a few match reviews and different things. Like I'll do breakdowns with a private match separately, or we'll just pick an old school match and just dissect and say, this is what they were doing here. This is why they did what they did. This is how they get mileage out of this. This is how they sort of set the table on this, blah, blah, blah. And so I think a lot of wrestlers through the pandemic got a lot of use out of that. And then it was cool because super rewarding because, we're doling out wrestling knowledge, but we were really trying to distract people from crawling the cages when we were all stuck in quarantine and everything. So now that I get to shows, across, country and so forth, I haven't been out of the country since the pandemic, all the restrictions and everything, but I'll get to these different shows wherever, and I'll meet young wrestlers I've never met before, and they'll come up and say, thanks, coach. I've never met them. So it's a really neat. And they'll say, yeah, man, you really helped me out during the pandemic. That was awesome. And I'll always look forward to listening to you or Doc or Gangrel and so forth. So that was super duper rewarding. So that's what it is. So short story long, Future Stars of Wrestling is where I teach Mondays and Tuesday nights in Vegas. I'll do seminars out and about at whatever shows I'm at if the promoter wants to facilitate that. And then I teach online on the Snake Pit. If you just go Snake Pit Wrestling Academy, it's on Facebook, and then you just click the private link and you say what school you're at or wherever you are, whatever. And then we approve you, and then you're on that private page and you get to listen to all of our fun and craziness.
That's awesome. And that's such a good idea because I don't know. I'm sure someone else is doing it somewhere, but I've never heard of anyone else doing sort of like the online thing like that. I mean, match review, sure, but.
So I think I'm certainly not a horn tutor. I'm not a self. I don't do the Tommaso Ciampa or the Barry Horowitz Pat. But I want to say I was kind of the first or one of the first to do like an online.
Yeah, that's such a good idea.
Well, and then to do it with the pedigree you have, the people you have with you doing it, like the Gangrel and the Jake and that type of people doing it with you, where these other small local promotions will do it, but they barely have one name.
Well, so when I have guest wrestlers or not even guest wrestlers, when I have drop-in wrestlers from out of state coming in and they'll come and train, pay a little drop-in fee just because, again, it's not my school. I'm a coach there. But, Joe DeFalco runs FSW, which is, that's his building, and Rocky T. So, the lights don't come on out of magic. The insurance isn't paid out of magic. So everybody just chips in, and so it just, it's a nice place to come and train. And when guys come in and out of town and they go, man, it was never explained to me like that from my indie coach or from my whoever, and no knocking any indie coach, but you can't teach what you don't know. So if you know how to give a proper hip dial, you can teach that. If you don't know about psychology or TV wrestling or how to break down going into a commercial break, coming out of a commercial break in certain ways and this and that, there's a million things that if you don't know, you don't know. If you don't know it, how could you teach it? So
I've seen great schools and I've seen not so great schools. And like I like to endorse the schools that I feel you're going to get an education out of and actually learn how to work and how to make it in wrestling business. So guys, FSW with Sinn Bodhi, with D'Lo, with all of those guys, like these are guys that have been on TV, whether it's been WWE, AEW, Impact, they've all been there. Like Sin, you've been on.
there's not a coach at FSW that hasn't been on major TV.
That's and that's not to say nothing like this. We have a couple of schools up here where the guys haven't been on TV, but they've taught the country. So
Sure.
it's not taking away from them at all. But when you
Sure.
get the guys that know how to work TV, like Hunter Hearst Helmsley, when Finn Balor came up, he was like, I told Finn to work whatever camera, and he's like, he looked at me like I had three heads. He had no idea because they didn't know how to work TV. Even in Japan, like they were taught to work and to wrestle. When you're on
so you're multitasking. You're doing so many things with logic, and you can't have tunnel vision, but you have to focus, but you have to see everything else. Again, what if a fan comes in, or what if there's another? If the referee is down and you don't want to step backwards and step on his leg or something, like you have to be so aware of everything. Or watch this camera, and you're not just playing to the cameras. The bigger the show, the more complex the camera setup. So you're not just playing to the cameras. You're watching the red light on whichever camera you're going to. So you've got to keep an eye on all that stuff. So many different factors, and then listening to time. Like I want to say when I was Kizarney 100 years ago on SmackDown, I want to say 30 seconds of commercial time was something like 250 or 275K. So if you went 30 seconds over, you just robbed Vince McMahon of, almost 300K. So you have to know how to follow times and cues and different things like that. Or what if they need you to go long? What if they need you to go short? Well, if we have this match all planned out from A to Z, and it's a 12-minute match, and they tell us to go home in 3 minutes. We can't stuff 12 minutes into 3 minutes. We have to edit, subtract, divide, do all these things, and make these micro decisions very, very quickly. Make snap decisions,
and keep the audience with you.
And keep the audience, so it can't look like you can't be a deer in headlights. You have to know, and the best of the best guys can forget spots, but you're never going to notice it. Like Triple H could forget a spot. You're never going to notice it because he's just so damn slick, and same thing. And it goes the other way too. So-and-so's not here yet. He had a flat tire. You need to wrestle for another 10 more minutes. So if you can't make it up as you go, if you can't just riff off the fly, you're kind of effed, and sometimes they do it almost as a rib, like give you extra minutes just to see how you do, like give me all those minutes, man. I can go 60 minutes without blinking. So
that's
nice. I don't know that a lot of wrestlers can. Again, with all my strengths and all my weaknesses, I'm humbled to know both of those very well. I know how to amp and forefront my strengths and how to hide my weaknesses. But there's not a lot of wrestlers that could do a 60-minute match. I can do it in my sleep. I do it all the time. I do it with students as sort of a rite of passage, as a way to school them and show them, hey, this is how you can get some mileage and whatever. And we don't just sit in a hold for 800 hours. We move. But it shows them how to set the table on things, how to get mileage out of things, how to tell those stories in the ring. And again, you could stand in the locker room and plan out a bunch of crap, or you could go feel it, and it'll probably be way more organic. So having said that, if you take the best of both those worlds, think about some ideas together, and then go find what you find organically, and then meet that in the middle, that's some nice Jeet Kune Do right there. That's some nice water.
Absolutely.
And we just went 60 minutes in the blink of an eye.
Ta-da!
On
that note, I should get out of here. I don't want to be late to teach Tito's daughter. I don't need a flying burrito from the old man, so I'd like to avoid that. So thank you guys for having me on here. And it's okay with you. I'll shamelessly just plug. You want me on a show? You want me to do a seminar? You want to buy one of my toys? You want to be on a snake pit? Whatever. Social media is Sinn Bodhi, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Sinn Bodhi, SINNBODHI. Sinn with 2 N's. Bodhi like the tree.
All right.
Thank you, Sin.
Thank you, Sin.
Appreciate it as always.
For everybody, I hope you were all entertained, and I will leave you with the regular coming off of every class of Snake Pit. Just be safe, be smart, be kind.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, boys.
Yes, thank you, Sin.
Thank you.
Thank you, boys.
Thank you.
He's already out.